Hello, everyone. My name is Regina Miller, and today I'm going to talk about my amazing mother, who is now my angel mother. I want to talk about totally the jobs that my mother had, just to give you an idea of the type of mother that I had. First, what I knew about her, she was a wife. That was her first job that I definitely know she had. A, a wife to my amazing father, Herbert Lee Miller. She was a wife, first, that I know of. She was my mother. That's another job. A mother to four amazing children, three daughters and one son. My mother's first job, physically going out of the house, she was, for 20 years, 20 plus years, the IRS business manager. In the IRS business management department, my mother was a manager for 20 plus years. That is her first career that she retired from in New York City. My mother, after that job, moved with my father and myself and my children to Sumter, South Carolina, where she began numerous things that she did that I admired. The second thing she did, from retiring from the IRS, my mother opened up a home daycare. She opened up a home daycare. My mother was a nanny, where she went into the home of a family and she was a nanny to their baby. My mother was a manager at McDonald's in Sumter, South Carolina. And she loved that job. She loved it because she wanted to make sure all the kids at church and the neighborhoods and all the kids she knew had a job. She loved being a nanny because she just loved love. I think she did that after my dad died. She was really trying to find herself, what she wanted to do and how she wanted to go about life next. So I really didn't understand that job, but I was like, okay, Mom, you doing it, cool. That's what you want to do. Because one thing I learned, death, especially a husband that you have for 40 years, your life might take a turn in a whole lot of directions. So just experiencing the loss that I have, I know that it takes a toll. Okay, so now I understand the things she did after my dad died a little bit better. Having her home daycare, that's something she also did after my dad passed. And because I want to let y'all know that my mother was a wife and she had a husband who was a provider her whole entire life. My dad preceded her in death and she preceded him in death. She never married again. She said my dad was it and he was it. She loved her some Herbert Lee Miller. Okay. I got my lessons of love and life and marriage from my parents, a two-parent home. And that's why I will not settle for anything less than the love that I saw and received growing up as a child from my parents. My mother was a mother who was strong. She loved her children, and it was evident in everybody around her. The last job I seen my mother do, and let me get them all right. She was a physical job, but she got a paycheck. She went to school. This is another job she did after my dad died. She went to school and she became a nurse, and she was a nursing. She worked in a nursing home in Manning, South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, until she died. She always told me, she said, as a senior citizen, I'm going to help seniors. I'm going to help the elderly. She said, I'm going to get paid for it, but that's what I'm going to do. She said, I love the elderly people. And she did. I saw her love elderly people all my life. So she died doing the job that she loved. Okay, now the job that God gave her, my mother was Evangelist Miller. in St. Mark's Forbes Baptist Church in Sumter, South Carolina. The pastor there is Sammy D. Simmons. Let me tell you something. My mother was the Sunday school, I believe, superintendent leader. She was the Watery division leader of the Women's Auxiliary. My mother was an evangelist at the church and a preacher, an active preacher. And she also was the head of the Missionary Women's Board. She was over the women's ministry in the church. That is the ministry that I really love. That's the one job that I really, really love that my mother did out of all the jobs she did, because my mother, in being that woman of God, she created me to be a woman of God. She created my children to learn God. She created my siblings to know who God was. She created everybody around her to know who God was. She picked up kids as many as she can get in her car. She probably even put some in her trunk to take them to church every Sunday. Sundays was the most amazing day of the week for my family, because my mom really showed up and showed out, not just for her children, her church family, but everyone. My mother had a heart of gold. She would give you the clothes off her back, literally. You could come sit to her house and sit at her table, but there was no gossiping policy.